Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Wendy York Davoud. And today we are interviewing Dr. Sean Feeney, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for the Port Washington Union Free School District. Welcome, Sean.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. I'm happy to be here.
We're so excited to have you, and I believe you are our first guest from the great state of New York. Will you please shed some light for our audience on who you are, Sean, a little bit about your background?
Okay, terrific. I am working and living in the great state of New York. Born and raised, however, in the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Came down to New York after my first teaching experiences, which were as a Peace Corps volunteer in the Central African Republic. Had my first classroom experience as you to, and that's where I also fell in love with mathematics and taught mathematics. I was fluent in French, so I was also teaching mathematics in French, teaching calculus, pre-calculus, and I think from an educational or pedagogical point of view, that helped me recognize very early on that the role that language and literacy plays in any sort of education. So there I was teaching older kids, 19, 20, 21 years old. Many of them were in their second, third, even fourth language, and trying to teach them the language of the calculus and the role that understanding language and literacy plays in any sort of transmission of knowledge became very clear to me at a young age. Being a Peace Corps volunteer, I spent 4 years in the Peace Corps. Came down to New York back in 1993. That was going to be for 2 years, where I was going to get my master's and go back up to Massachusetts. Uh, you know, things ha- things happened. I had the great fortune of being a founding member of a small public high school, Manhattan Village Academy, which was one of 5 schools formed from a New York City large public high school, Julia Richmond, that dissolved. And I had the great fortune of being one of those founding members. We built a school early on in 1993. This is before all the smaller schools became a thing in New York City, charter schools, and built it up grade by grade. And had the great fortune of meeting the woman who became my wife there, which is why I've been in New York since 1993. And from there, I worked for a bit in spent 5 years in a private school in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I had that experience, small schools, very well resourced, with parents who expected a high level of service, expertise for their kids. And there was an intimacy about that school that, given its small size, was really important. And I
Yeah.
think for someone who went to a very large high school didn't really experience when I was going to school. So that was a terrific experience. And eventually got a job in Long Island when we moved out to Long Island, first as an assistant principal, spent 16 years as a high school principal, and became an assistant superintendent here in Port Washington 4 years ago. I'm entering my 5th year here.
Very nice. So a wealth of experience in many different locations and districts. That's fantastic. And I'm thinking about a little bit about what we discussed before the show in terms of where you're where you all were, where you are now, where you're heading in as a school district. That's for the audience. One of the pieces that we want to do is really highlight, what you're seeing, and how you're working through the challenges and the successes and all the pieces in order to get better results for kiddos. So tell me about your district. Tell me about your vision.
So this is really a remarkable district, the Port Washington School District. It is a wonderful community. It is a community where, like in many communities, right, parents really care about the schools. But unlike other communities I've been in, typically the parents really care about the schools. This has organizations, it has foundations that actively raise money to support the schools, enhance our programs. I've never seen parents so supportive and so involved in the schools. It's a relatively heterogeneous population, both economically as well as demographically,
Interesting.
which means we have some, we have some challenges with some of our students who come with very different backgrounds. Some of them uh, really come from traumatic backgrounds from their home countries, whatever it might be. They might have had missing education, missing years of education. And we have other students with tremendous privilege and lots of support. We bring them all together. We have 5 elementary schools. We have 1 middle school, 1 high school, roughly 400 kids in students per grade, which gives you a population of roughly, 5,300 students when you go, across the grades. It is a school district that has incredibly committed teachers. And it's got a long history, well known here in Long Island, of strong teachers union that is not afraid to try different approaches and try different things. It's a very collaborative union, and it has been surprising to me just how engaged the teachers are, especially with curriculum and professional development. And that can be a challenge at times, like, quite honestly, as an administrator, but it's a wonderful opportunity as well. And when done well, it creates a level of buy-in that I just have not seen in some of my other districts.
Let's talk about that. Like, when you say, because I agree with you, when it's done well, people wanna do a great job. People wanna work together, they wanna do a good job for kids, but oftentimes we miss the mark when we're, you know, coming up with new initiatives in terms of curriculum instruction or assessment or looking at instructional practices. Um, Tell us some of the things that have worked well.
Listen, I have not met a teacher that doesn't wanna do right, by their
Yeah,
students, right? They that's why teachers get into this profession. The tension arises from either not understanding each other and not understanding, vision of one side, vision of the other side, not communicating well, not believing in the good intentions of each side. So that's where here in Port Washington, the teachers happen to have a contractual. Um, Agreement that they will have a voice in curriculum selection
nice.
and professional development. It's unlike what I've seen in other districts. So any sort of significant curriculum change or professional development opportunities has to go through a committee of teachers and administrators, and that is a process. When I came up here, they were just starting looking into a different uh, elementary they were actually elementary and middle school math program. Mathematics,
Okay.
that's my background, that's what my research was
Yeah.
was in, and I had my own views, but the committee had had started. There was a subcommittee, and it was incredible the amount of work that the teachers did, the seriousness with which they took on the challenge of interviewing, finding out, surveying their colleagues to get a sense of what's working, what's not working, what they wanted, what they didn't want, looking at
Nice.
different vendors, piloting different programs, and then eventually selecting a program. It was a 2.5 year process, right? In
Wow.
other districts, I
Okay.
had colleagues who said, "Yeah, no, I came on and we changed the math program, over the summer." That could never work here. And the difference, teachers just dazzling how serious they took it. And as a result, you have a program that was adopted. And as I told teachers, the curriculum isn't as important to me as the instruction, because it's that instructional shift and the instructional practices that will make a huge difference on the day to day student experience. and they selected a program, not necessarily the program I would have selected, but the program did allow us an opportunity to create some instructional shifts, and that's what we've been focused on as we enter year 3 of this program. And we see differences in the instruction taking place in our mathematics classes. So that is working because we had the buy-in from the teachers, and they had a major say in what program was selected. Because at the end of the day, I'm not sitting there teaching every class. They're the ones on the ground working with the kids. They're the ones that are impacting student experiences each and every day. So the fact that they had a significant buy-in has made the adoption and the implementation of something I care about deeply, the instructional changes,
Yeah.
easier to do.
I think it is so cool that you are an assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction and assessment with a mathematics background. I don't meet a lot of you. More often, I find assistant superintendents of business or finance, or, to be more often those with the mathematics background, and more often it seems like those with the literacy or history, social science, um, are in the ed services arena or teaching and learning. And I just think that is super cool. Like, what an asset you bring to the table.
Well, I'll just add in another piece for what it's worth. My undergraduate work was all in international relations. So that's political science, economics, language, and philosophy. And it was all my graduate work that was mathematics. So I like to say I've got the best of both worlds.
I guess so, yeah, that is really cool. As you were speaking about, the selection process, the adoption of a new curriculum, implementing a new curriculum, you mentioned, like, practices in the classroom. Because you do have that mathematics background, I am curious, like, what are some of the instructional practices that you all are looking for in your classrooms?
The big shift that especially at the elementary level, and this is the best way to support all of our learners and make sure there is a level of differentiated instruction, is this movement towards more small group instruction. So that is a big piece. What we've seen is a movement away from an entire class of teacher-led large group instruction. And you've got more of an inquiry based where the lessons are started with, "Hey, I wonder what's happening here. Can we talk about what you're seeing there? What do you notice?" Then moving to some group work and then bringing people, the students together. What we've seen more mathematical communication between students and among students, I should add. We've seen students able to defend their ideas mathematically to the teacher, to the class, and kids doing math rather than just receiving math. So we've been encouraged by what we've seen, and even in surveys that we've done of teachers and or students, we're getting that feedback, some positive feedback regarding what teachers are observing in students, to the point where some teachers say, "Oh, I didn't know my kids could do this." Uh, so
Yeah.
holding up a bar and helping the students strive towards that has been an unexpected benefit as well. And as those instructional practices shift, so they're more student centered, they're more data driven. This is a program that does have student data that is used to help organize your small group instruction and help the teacher identify what standards students might need some support with. It's been terrific.
The other, buzz on the street in the world of mathematics and public education, K-12 has really been it's been around for a little while, and I wonder, is it still buzzing in your area? 10 years ago with the shift to Common Core, practices in mathematics classrooms really needed to change to ensure that kids were developing deep conceptual understanding of math. And that meant that kids were bringing home, um, work or practice in math that was not what parents were used to. And so in many cases, there were like either parents who felt like they didn't know how to help their kids or even pushback on like, this is not how you do math. This is
Right.
not how you do math. Um, and I think in some ways we've gotten past that, but I don't know. I'm curious. What's it like there?
Have we gotten past it? No. You can send a student home with a long division problem. that a parent who learned the long division algorithm could support them with.
Right.
But if the student has not yet learned the long division algorithm, and instead is doing it through grouping and more of a, I understand what division is, so I can manipulate this number, I can group
Yeah.
it, and I can chunk it up. The parent will look at that and say, "What in the world are you doing?"
What
Well,
is
what the child
yeah.
is doing is understanding what division is and being able to break it up. Is that the way the child will always do it? Of course not. At some point, you move to that algorithm once you have that conceptual understanding. But if you
Yeah.
don't have a strong conceptual understanding from the get-go, the whatever that algorithm is you learn, it's on a weak foundation. And when you build on a weak foundation, at some point things will bend and cause some problems and some weaknesses. Curiously, we see this in Manhattan just a few days ago, where they had a huge addition to one of our office buildings, and some of the steel beams from the original structure uh, bent, and they had to cordon off parts of the streets. Why? Well, it was not ready to support the increased load. And from a mathematical point of view, if you don't have that strong conceptual foundation, and you get by with, I don't know, keep, change, flip, or whatever these different techniques that sometimes teachers will use, to get students to do the problem but not understand it, it can create problems. As a teacher, I used to see those problems especially appear 10th, 11th grade, and things start falling apart when it gets far more conceptual. But it can happen early on as well. So yeah, that becomes, we held in our district, we held parent webinars to help inform parents about the shifts in the instruction, so they could understand what was happening, why it was happening, what the process looked like eventually. And I think those conversations were helpful with parents.
I bet they were. Okay. All right. So zooming out a bit more to the bigger picture,
Yes.
and where are you all headed? What is your vision for the future in Port Washington Union Free School District?
I think you've hit on the most important thing, right? So one of the biggest challenges in any district leadership position, you move from having a vision, right, which we can have as central office administrators, whether it's a superintendent, assistant superintendent, whatever it might be, to creating that shared ownership of the vision, because that vision statement on a website, that doesn't do anything to change a student experience, right? What changes the student experience is making sure that every teacher, every administrator, every staff member, whether it's a para professional, whether it's a bus driver or lunch worker, understands, what does that vision look like operationally on a Tuesday morning, right? What's that look like? So it's got to be something that we communicate in a consistent manner, across whatever audience we might have, whether it's the Board of Education, in our leadership meetings, faculty meetings, whatever it might be. So, for us, I would say we've had a lot of activities and a lot of things taking place, literacy initiatives, we've had numeracy, MTSS, but you know, the goal is not to view those as 3 different initiatives, but really part of that larger vision, right? How do we make
Yes.
sure that every student gets what they need, right? That is the vision. How do we do that? What do we do? And, our work in literacy, our work in numeracy, that selection of the math program. We're working on the selection of a reading program. We're working with MTSS. Those are all interconnected, and it's all part of, how do you make sure every student gets what they need? And that's what, we've got to make sure that everybody understands, in terms of why we are doing the things we're doing. It's not that I felt the need to come in, hey, let's do this, let's do that. No, they're all connected, and they're all centered around that vision of making sure every student gets what they need.
Yeah, so true. I was actually talking about this just the other day with someone that, um, the skill of synthesis, of synthesizing, of systematizing is I don't know that I think I said under taught, and I don't know that that's exactly it, maybe underdeveloped in leaders, um, right? Like, looking for those connections and what do you think?
Listen, this work cannot depend on me. Should something happen and I'm not here tomorrow, I would like to think this work continues because we are putting systems in place so that they don't depend on one person. And that's I think sometimes the biggest mistake leaders can make, and that's why having partners such as the teachers. A lot of teachers there, far more than administrators, and, most teachers will outlive the administrators, so having them as partners in the selection of a math program, in the selection of a reading program, in the training and development of MTSS, is critical because, it's gotta be, systematized, and it can't just rely on one person, so, absolutely, that vision, everyone has to understand, the vision, and in some of my end of year conversations with some of our administrators, I said the example, if you walk into a room of whether it's administrators, board members, or teachers, will they know what's happening in your area? Do they know what
Yeah,
you have communicated? What is our reading program? What is it all about right now? Where are we? And we've communicated enough. We're just finishing up year two of a 3-year process and the selection. Oh, then what is the
yeah.
literacy? Where are we? Where are we with our ENL services in our program? And that's through repetition and just continuing to say, here's where we are, here's where we've been, here's where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. It's if if we just depend on the principals or, the district office level administrators, and we don't include the teachers, we're missing, number 1, a whole lot of voice that's really important. But number 2, that ability to systematize and sustain. And then I think we just have to look for how we can in ourselves and in one another develop our ability to clearly communicate the connections between different initiatives, keeping the eye, your eye on the ball and what you're really trying to accomplish.
Right. And to this point, right? How does the vision become real? At the end of the
Exactly.
day, it becomes real through systems. And if you don't have those systems in place, the vision is stuck in your head. That's a swell place sometimes, but it's not going to really impact student learning if it's just stuck in your head. You've got to build that bridge, I think, as a district leader between sort of that idea in your head and then into the classroom, right? And what does that look like? How's that done? Well, that's done certainly professional development. It's not just that one off. It's got to be sustained, repeated.
Sure.
It's got to build. It's done through schedules, right? We've done a lot of work at our elementary schedules these last few years. Um, Resources, we have allocated resources sufficiently to support our initiatives. Assessments, you've got to see how is it working? What are our needs? What have we done well? What needs to happen? Uh, and you've got to and this can be challenging at times. You got to give teachers time to sort of sit down and
Yeah.
collaborate, which we try to do on each of our professional development days.
Yeah, okay. So that's great. So you have some built-in professional development days for that. Are there other structures in place for teachers to develop that collective efficacy amongst their grade levels or vertically between grade levels or within and across departments at the secondary level?
Yeah, I think we have an incredibly professional teaching staff that look forward to an opportunity to collaborate. Built into our sort of system, every Wednesday is one of a few different opportunities. Whether it's a district-wide professional development day, whether it is a staff meeting, a building staff meeting, whether it is a department or grade level meeting, and one of those Wednesdays is also dedicated to sort of a union meeting, to keep that collaboration. So that's throughout the year, every month, those Wednesdays. We have 4 superintendent conference days built into the year. This year, we have 2 of them before we even open up school, which is really helpful given all the work we're doing. And then we'll have one in the fall, and then we'll have one in the spring. And we spend a lot of time. We have a committee that looks at what teachers are looking for. They can request things, and we try to balance between the needs of the district and what our objectives are and our goals are as a district with what the teachers feel they need. and provide some support. We bring in outside people. We use inside talent as well to provide that professional development. So those are our main things. We have also brought in people for, special professional development even during the day. So sometimes we'll pull a grade, a group of teachers to meet and we'll have to get coverage for their class or, if there's some other activity. So that's not uncommon either. This coming year, finally, I'm very excited. We actually have we have coaches. So that we're hiring as a district. We're hoping to get eventually to 5 coaches. So a literacy coach, numeracy coach. So that's sort of built-in professional development, especially for our numeracy and literacy initiatives at the elementary level.
Yeah.
So they'll be working in real time, sort of on demand PD, working with teachers, helping them connect student assessment results to the needs to a lesson development, lesson design, and how to implement some of our small group instruction. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, that is very exciting. In a time when, many districts are kind of struggling with limited resources, it's really
Yes.
exciting to hear that you have that.
Yeah, and that's where going back to a very supportive community. I think we're able to put forward each year a budget of with coherence, so people understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're going. Nice roadmap, and the community supports the budget, which in this case it includes the hiring of these coaches. This is a brand new
Yeah.
position for the district. Very excited about it.
Yeah, very exciting. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so where can someone go if they wanna learn more? It sounds like just a wonderful place. They wanna learn more, maybe they looking for a new place to send their kids or a new place to become a teacher or administrator.
Right. So our website, of course, is www.portnet.org. I think if you want to get a sense of what we're doing, I would head to the curriculum page. A link on the top, and you'll see a sidebar with presentations. I think I've done since I've been here 55, 56 presentations since I've gotten here to the board and to different committees, and you'll get a real sense of what we've been doing and where we're heading. A lot of reading material there.
Great,
And
thank
that's been
you.
I will just say that's been a big part of what I've done, this notion of, "Hey, full transparency, here are our scores, here's what we're doing well, here's what we're looking to improve, we're struggling a little bit," and getting that out to the community and sharing, stuff that I think, perhaps in the past may not have been shared as openly.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, good. That's helpful. And, Dr. Feeney, I also wanna give you an opportunity to shout out to recognize or to just express your gratitude and appreciation for someone, who's had a positive impact on your life, as an educator or an educational leader.
Got a few. There's no single one. I will go back to some of my, elementary teachers from Mrs. Dukakis to Mrs. Benjamin back in elementary school. I had high school teachers that impacted me as well. I think that when I got into schools and teaching, I would be remiss not to state, I think my wife, who is an incredible educator, we met as teachers in this small school, and her field has been special education. I've learned so much from her. She became an administrator before I did, so she gave me some good insight. From a superintendent's point of view, Dr. Lorna Lewis, who has been very active in New York State, hired me at my previous high school as the principal of the Wheatley School, and I love my collaboration with her during our 5 years together, and we've continued to communicate and collaborate beyond that.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I know the list probably goes on and on and on and on and
Right.
on. But hopefully you will share this with some of them or some of them will come across our episode and have a chance to hear that, especially Mrs. Feeney, because that was beautiful.
Well, actually, Dr. Elizabeth Ruiz Quintana. We don't. I didn't take her name. She didn't take mine. I thought that was fair.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, she's a talent.
I appreciate that. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And so I can get that right, Dr. Ruiz. Dr. Ruiz.
Ruiz Quintana. 2 last
Rui
names.
Quintana. All
There you
right.
go.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Feeney, for being on the show today.
I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible, because strong leadership drives deeper learning.